All right, episode number 331, the special interview. So the way that this interview came to be is on the last episode, 330, we were talking about inflation, what causes it, where we're at in an inflation cycle, what you can do about it. One of the articles I referenced was this article by Craig Israelsen, who is a PhD, and I'll share with you a little bit about his bio. So he holds a PhD in Family Resource Management from Brigham Young University. He received a BS in Agribusiness and an MS in Agricultural Economics from Utah State University. Prior to teaching at UVU, he taught at BYU and University of Missouri, Columbia. Primary among his research interests is the analysis of mutual funds and the design of investment portfolios. He writes for Financial Planning Magazine and is a regular contributor to horsesmouth.com, ETF.com. His research has also been published in the Journal of Financial Planning, Journal of Asset Management, Journal of Performance Measurement, Asia Financial Planning Journal, Journal of Family and Economic Issues, and Financial Counseling and Planning. His research has been cited in Christian Science Monitor, Wall Street Journal, Newsweek, Forbes, Smart Money Magazine, Kiplinger, Retirement Report, Advisor Perspectives. And of course, one of the ways that I know about his work is through the American Association of Individual Investors. Dr. Israelsen is the developer of the 7Twelve portfolio and the author of 4 books. His most recent books include 7Twelve, A Diversified Investment Portfolio with a Plan, John Wiley & Sons, and Start Investing Now. So anyways, I've just enjoyed this conversation so much. I'm excited to bring it to you. But again, the reason that I wanted to bring him onto the program specifically was to talk about inflation. Our conversation went down a lot of different paths. We talked about the effect of bonds, asset allocation, inflation, diversification. What I think I enjoyed the most was just his demeanor, the flow of the conversation, and you can just tell that he's the kind of guy that you'd like to spend time with. I mean, he just seems like a really down-to-earth person who enjoys the subject, he enjoys teaching, and without any further ado, here's episode number 331, my interview with Dr. Craig Israelsen. Okay, so here we are. This is episode 331. I've got Craig Israelsen on the program with us, and really excited to have a conversation with him. He's done a lot of work on this, what he calls the 7Twelve. He's the developer of the 7Twelve investment strategy. Craig, welcome to Sound Retirement Radio.
Thank you. I appreciate being with you.
Well, I'm excited to get into this program. The reason that this came about is because I was doing a piece recently. We just recorded a program about inflation. So I wanted to get your take on inflation. But before we get into that, you don't know a lot about Sound Retirement Radio, but the focus of our program is really helping people to make this transition into retirement. And so while I want to talk to you about inflation, I also just kind of want to talk to you about retirement. But before I get into all of that, I want to learn a little bit more about you and this career path you took. You're a professor of finance. So tell us a little bit about you.
Well, started out in agricultural economics. My summers were on a farm in Utah. I grew up in California, but my summers were on a farm in northern Utah. And I had one professor who was one grandfather who was an economics professor. The other grandfather was a farmer. My dad's an engineer, electrical engineer, and I thought I don't have the brain power for electrical engineering. So I split the road and I went into agricultural economics and ended up being a grain buyer for a while. Spent some time at Texas A&M, got my first 2 degrees at Utah State University, and then got a degree in family financial management at Brigham Young University, and then spent about 15 years teaching at University of Missouri. And I primarily taught personal and family finance, but I also taught an investments course and risk management course. And then BYU reached out and asked if I would come out and teach at BYU. So we did that for about 9 years. And then the 7Twelve project began to sort of evolve. And so now I do a lot of consulting, and I've been writing for different magazines for about 20 years. I teach one class at Utah Valley University in their financial planning program, but day to day, I spend time in research, and in writing, and supporting the kind of the activities and the data analysis of the 712 portfolio.
Awesome.
And on a good day, I'll go for a hike. 2020 has been the year of the hike.
Oh,
for
man.
Me and a friend of mine. We've hiked a mountain every week.
Boy, that's so fun. That's same story with me. A good buddy of mine, we've really took up hiking in 2020, and I've got this book of local hikes. We're trying to hit every single one of them, so that's fun.
Yeah, we're doing a similar thing, hitting all the highest summits in the state of Utah, one in every county, and we're chipping away at the list. I live in Utah County near Provo. There's lots of mountains around us, and we've hiked all of them, in some cases several times. But it's been kind of as a philosophical or just sort of a life realization, is that the 2020 has shut a lot of things down and changed a lot of how we normally live, but there are other opportunities that we have to be leaning toward, and that's been one of them for me. Huh. And so 2020 has been a challenge for everybody. I don't want to minimize that at all, but it's actually opened another door in terms of some outdoor. I've always been outdoorsy, run lots of marathons and done a lot of biking, but hiking has been a new adventure, and I would recommend it to anybody who's listening that if you're outside hiking, COVID doesn't stop that.
That's right. Hey, if you ever make your way out here to the sunny state of Washington, over near Seattle in the Olympic Mountains, I've got a couple of awesome hikes I'll take you on. Just let me know when you're coming, and we can get out there and hit the trail.
Well, I would love that. My hiking buddy, he's done Rainier, and that's one I would like to tackle.
You talk about how COVID is really kind of changing us, and this is something I've really been reflecting on a lot. 2020. I don't want to miss the opportunity to learn what it is I need to learn going through this period of time. What are some of the big takeaways you've had, things you've learned as a result of this global pandemic?
Well, the importance of the inner strength, our inner ability to navigate rougher water with our own compass, and in the strength of our family units. The importance of being optimistic and being encouraging to others. I have observed, and maybe others have, that in this, quote, social distancing, which I wish it was referred to as physical distancing, because we don't need to be socially distant, but we need to be probably physically distant. Just the importance of reaching out and sending a little note. I emailed a couple of my kids last night. I'm doing one email a week, and just to say what I really appreciate about them. Because it's been the COVID plus just a political wrestling match going on. And the best solution for discouragement is to be encouraging to someone else.
I love that. And I have to tell you, before our interview today, so I of course, I've been reading a lot of your material over the years, especially through AAII. I've read a lot of your research there. But before our podcast today, I did go back and listen to a couple of other interviews from you. And one of the things, as excited as I am to get into this discussion about investing and retirement with you, some of these other interviews are very philosophical. It's almost as if that part of life you enjoy as much as kind of the technical, the nuts and bolts of the investing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, investing is really interesting to me, but it's transient, and it's short. Everything's short term. Ultimately, if we're thinking in a sort of a eternal context. These are important tasks and chores that we have in front of us in our mortal life. But the whole point of these, whatever it is, the investing, the budgeting, the managing our physical body, these are all tasks so we can learn things.